Imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night. The air feels heavy, strange. Your animals are restless, barking, bleeding, and then silence. By morning, your entire village, your family, your neighbors, even the cattle in the fields are gone. No screams, no signs of struggle, just death. This isn't a horror movie. It isn't folklore. It happened, and it remains one of the strangest and deadliest natural disasters ever recorded. Tonight, we're diving into the mystery of Lake Nyos, the beautiful, tranquil body of water that turned into a silent killer. But first, let me warn you, this story doesn't unfold with fire or explosions. The true horror is quieter, invisible, a disaster that struck in the most unexpected way and left behind questions that still haunt survivors today. Lake Nyos sits in the remote highlands of Cameroon, West Africa. To outsiders, it looks like paradise. Calm waters surrounded by lush green hills, mist rolling across the surface in the early mornings. To the villagers, Nyos was life itself. It gave them fish. It watered their cattle. It was simply part of the rhythm of existence. But underneath that glassy surface, something deadly was brewing. For decades, carbon dioxide gas had been leaking into the lake from deep within the earth. The water held it like a trap, silently filling up with invisible poison. The villagers had no idea. No one did. This wasn't a threat you could see or hear or smell. And it was building year after year, waiting for the moment when the balance would finally break. It started with a tremor. Some said they heard a low rumble in the earth. Others swore the cattle grew agitated, dogs barking wildly at the night air. And then, something shifted deep in the lake. Without warning, the gas that had been trapped for decades suddenly erupted, like uncorking a shaken bottle. A massive bubble of carbon dioxide shot out of the depths, churning the water and sending waves crashing against the shore. But this wasn't just a splash. What followed was a creeping, invisible force. The gas cloud, dense and heavy, rolled out of the lake like a tidal wave. It hugged the ground, sliding silently down the valleys. A wave of death you couldn't see or fight. They call it the silent wave. The villages near Nyos lay in its path. Families were sleeping peacefully when the gas cloud crept in. Some never stirred. They simply stopped breathing in their sleep. Others woke suddenly, confused, gasping for air that wasn't there. Mothers shook their children, screaming for them to wake, only to collapse themselves. One survivor, Josephine, later told reporters how she woke to find her husband gone, her children lifeless in their mats. When she stepped outside, she was surrounded by silence. Her entire community sprawled across the ground as if time itself had stopped. Cattle fell where they stood. Chickens dropped from their roosts. Even birds fell from the sky mid-flight, hitting the ground in eerie stillness. By morning, more than 1,700 people and thousands of animals were dead. Entire villages had been erased in a single night. And the strangest detail? There were no signs of struggle, no cries for help, just an almost peaceful stillness. When rescuers arrived days later, they were horrified. Food sat untouched on tables. Laundry still hung on lines. Doors were left ajar. It was as if life had simply frozen. Some rescuers even collapsed themselves, overwhelmed by the lingering gas. Many fled in panic, unsure what had happened. Whispers of witchcraft spread. Others believed an angry spirit had risen from the lake. The truth, however, was stranger than any folklore. Scientists soon discovered that Lake Nyos was sitting on top of a volcanic pocket. Carbon dioxide had been seeping up from the magma below, dissolving silently into the deep waters. The lake was like a bottle of soda under pressure, until that night in 1986, when an earthquake or landslide uncorked it all at once. The gas cloud, invisible and heavier than air, had displaced the oxygen, suffocating everything in its path. Think about that. No explosion, no flames, just air. Air turned lethal in an instant. It remains one of the deadliest natural disasters of its kind ever recorded. In the years that followed, scientists raced to make sure it never happened again. They installed massive steel pipes that reach into the depths of the lake, releasing gas in a controlled way, a process called degassing. Without these pipes, the lake could have killed again, possibly on an even greater scale. But for survivors, the science didn't erase the pain. Families were gone, children buried, villages wiped from the map. Even today, survivors describe the night as though it never ended. The silence, the stillness, the way life was stolen with no warning, no chance to fight back. And the lake remains, beautiful, calm. To a stranger, it looks harmless. But those who remember know better. The Lake Nyos disaster was not an isolated case. Other lakes in volcanic regions, like Lake Kivu on the border of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, are known to hold even larger volumes of trapped gas. If they were ever disturbed, the scale of devastation could dwarf Nyos. So here's the chilling thought. This wasn't just a freak event from the past. Could happen again, somewhere. And that's what makes Lake Nyos not just a story of tragedy, but a warning. Because sometimes death doesn't roar. Sometimes it doesn't even whisper. Sometimes it drifts in silence, taking everything with it. So what do you think? Was this nature's cruel accident, or a disaster we should have seen coming? And how many more silent killers are out there, waiting beneath the surface of calm waters? If you found this story chilling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more true crime and mystery cases. And let me know in the comments, would you ever dare visit Lake Nyos today?